Tonight, on Sightings, it's called the near-death experience.
I sat up in bed and I thought, my God, I just died.
Could this be proof of life after death?
There is a there.
Or is it still life's greatest mystery?
I don't have any doubt whatsoever that there's a life after death.
What happens to us after we die? The great philosophies and religions of the world have all addressed the question. Science has just begun. Hello, I'm Tim White. Tonight we'll meet people who have been pronounced clinically dead, yet survived, to share with us a profound experience, the near-death experience, on Sightings.
At that point, it started to appear.
They had large, dark eyes, claw-like hands.
I began sensing and knowing and feeling.
I do believe in life after death. I mean, I've been there.
We have not scratched the surface of what the mind can do.
It's a connection with the unknown.
What happens when we die? This question has been fundamental to mankind from the beginning. The most recent Gallup poll reports that 70% of us believe in life after death. If there is, in fact, an afterlife, what would it be like? Pearly gates, heavenly angels, a reunion with loved ones? Well, some say the answer might be found by listening to those who have had a near-death experience.
I do believe in life after death. I mean, I've been there.
I actually felt more alive dead.
It's not a free ride, but we're all going to take the trip. That's what it amounts to.
The trip is the near-death experience, which includes one or more of the following: leaving your body, seeing a bright light, meeting others, possibly deceased loved ones, or a being of light, undergoing a life review, returning to the body.
It happened when I was 19 years old, serving in Vietnam as a combat infantry soldier.
Hit by a combination of enemy and friendly fire that tore out his right eye and damaged his vocal cords, Bill Vandenbush thought he was dead.
And I laid down, and the next thing I know, the war was gone. There was no more shooting, no more noise, and I was in this dark corridor, and I suddenly came into a bright white light. You can call it God, you can call it heaven, you can call it anything that you want to call it.
As beautiful as the light was, it informed Bill he could not stay.
It was like, you have to go back because you have a higher purpose. You have to do something else. You're not ready to come here yet. So I turned, I was back in the dark corridor, and suddenly back, lying on the ground in the war zone. I could hear the bombs, I could hear the shooting. No matter what happened, I was not going to die that day. We're all going to die, it's inevitable. But that doesn't frighten me. I have no fear of death. I know that death is peaceful.
I had grown up assuming that when you die, there is just a total obliteration of your consciousness. It never occurred to me that there could be a life after death.
Dr. Raymond Moody, professor of psychology at West Georgia College, coined the term near-death experience in 1975 when he published a collection of anecdotes from those who described their experiences while clinically dead.
Very surprisingly, in cultures all over the world, people describe the same series of events.
A core near-death experience has several distinct features.
Dr. Kenneth Ring, professor of psychology at the University of Connecticut, conducted a more systematic study of the phenomenon. Like Moody, he outlined what occurs in most near-death experiences.
There's a sense of being separated from the physical body, being able to look at it like a spectator would from an elevated position above it.
I do remember being up in the corner suddenly of this room where the doctors were. They were kind of running around the table like the photomat elves, you know.
Paul Carr, a real estate broker, had a near-death experience when his body went into severe shock and his heart stopped.
I've really worked at trying to describe it, and it's very, very hard to do because it's so much a thing that you feel. And remember, it's not your body that's going, but it is you that's going.
They seem to go through this tunnel, and they come out on the other side into an incredibly brilliant and warm and loving and accepting light.
The light is all around you. It is you. It's like totally encompassing with your being.
Internationally renowned artist Andrei Miropolsky saw the light after a near-fatal car crash in 1984.
I do use that experience then as a measurement of my fear now living in a conscious life. Because if I ever get fearful in this conscious life, you know, I can think back to that time and think, well, if that was as close as I ever get to death, and I ever hope to get to death again, it was really, really pleasurable and really a beautiful experience. So what's there to be afraid of?
I was back with my Creator, with God. Although God is a puny word compared to the magnificence of this presence.
Social worker Kimberly Clark Sharp encountered a being of light after she fainted and initial resuscitation procedures failed.
What I personally know, it's not a belief, it's a memory, is that we do go on to another form of consciousness.
These classic accounts are reported by people who were either close to death or were actually declared dead, then revived. But these are not the only ways one can have a near-death experience.
You could be in a deep spiritual crisis. You could have a spontaneous out-of-body experience. You could have this kind of experience as a result of meditative practice. There are lots of different avenues to lead to this particular type of experience that we call the NDE. But you don't necessarily have to be physically close to death in order for it to occur.
Jana Rhodes Godfrey is a prime example of someone who has had a near-death experience without being close to death. Hers was caused by extreme emotional trauma, days after her husband died in 1990. In her experience, they were reunited.
I remember looking at my husband after he was saying, you know, come with me, and I looked down. I looked down and I didn't see my feet. It was real strange, but I was standing at a crossover point, and I raised my left foot, you know, to step over this point, and just as I raised it, I heard my own voice call to me from behind me, but what about the children? But what about the children? And my foot stopped in midair, and I looked at my husband and I pulled back and I said, I can't. And then I looked at this all-knowing being and I said, I just can't.
Those scientists who don't accept the near-death experience as proof of an afterlife cite everything from oxygen deprivation and brain seizures to wish fulfillment and hallucinations as possible explanations for the phenomenon.
But one of the problems with some of the explanations is that various specialists have tried to explain near-death experience, and they always try to explain it in terms of their specialties.
From ancient Egypt to medieval manuscripts, Dr. Zaleski has researched references to near-death experiences in various cultures and religions throughout history.
I think they do reflect cultural expectations, cultural aspirations that go very, very deep and go much deeper than some of the influences that we might be exposed to in a Sunday school classroom.
In seeking the real significance of the near-death experience, researchers prize the accounts that are as free as possible from external influences. Such accounts come from children.
Coming up, the near-death experiences of children.
And then suddenly I was like, zoom, at the end of a tunnel, at the black tunnel. And then I was in this bright light.
The baby hippo consumes more than 60 pounds of food a day. A constant
experiences are. Children's accounts are valued even more because their simplicity diminishes the chance that the near-death experience is the result of cultural influences or religious training. When the adults speak, the experts listen. But when the children speak, the experts are touched.
1 minute I was in the hospital room, and then another second or minute I was in this place that was all white and it was really bright.
So I had a choice of staying there feeling all good as I felt right then, and I was really tempted to do that because I was feeling really bad.
When you've had, as I've had, a 7-year-old child condescendingly pat me on the wrist and say, "You'll see, Dr. Morse, heaven is fun," you know, you can't help but be affected by that.
Featured in a Life magazine cover story about near-death experience, Dr. Melvin Morse, a pediatrician at a Seattle hospital, has published the first significant research on children's accounts.
Children experience the pure near-death experience. They don't secondarily embellish or embroider on the experience.
I had my heart stopped on a day, and I saw my grandma in a wooden chair, and she was just looking at me and smiling at me, and it was really a good feeling to see her.
11-year-old Jessie Lott had a near-death experience last year, the result of cardiac arrest brought on by liver complications. She saw her late grandmother.
Well, how did you feel when you saw her?
I was sort of scared because, you know, I didn't know where I was going. But I was happy.
When you hear her describe her experience and tell it in such a matter-of-fact way, you understand that to the child, they accept the near-death experience. It's just like anything else they experience in their life. Can you draw me a picture of your grandma? Could you draw me a picture of what that looked like?
Dr. Morse asks children to draw their experiences because what they lack in words, they make up for with crayons. After a routine tonsillectomy, this 6-year-old went into cardiac arrest and traveled through a tunnel of lights. An 8-year-old was told by this being of light to let go of her fear. Another child's experience included passing through a tunnel of multicolored bricks with a golden-haired guide named Elizabeth.
That's a great picture.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what this is around your grandmother.
These are the clouds. It was like my grandma was right there in a wooden chair, and there were clouds around it, and it was bright around. It makes me feel that, you know, if I come close to dying, it won't be as scary because I know what it's like a little bit, and it's fun to be there.
All of the controversy over near-death experiences can be boiled down to one simple question. Do these experiences happen when people are dying, or is the near-death experience an unconscious fantasy created by the mind after the fact?
The case of Jamie Untonen helps answer that question. Although her experience occurred 5 years ago, when she stopped breathing during an attack of spinal meningitis, Jamie is still very shy talking about it.
And did you talk to Jesus, or did he talk to you, or?
He talked to me.
And what did he say?
Wasn't your time to die?
Jamie Untonen's experience vividly demonstrates to me that near-death experiences are real experiences that happen to people when they die.
Jamie's drawing is of a classic near-death experience, including rising out of her body as it lay in the hospital, encountering a supreme being she called Jesus, and all of it witnessed by 3 angels.
She thinks that if she can talk to other kids that are very, very scared to die and make them feel at peace, then she's done something good.
Like adults, kids too can have near-death experiences without being physically close to death. A case in point is 12-year-old Jacqueline Richards.
Then my spirit or something just went and it like vacuumed out, and it just, then I was like free, you know?
Jacqueline Richards has the classic near-death experience, and yet she had it in the context of a migraine headache.
And then suddenly I was like, zoom, at the end of the tunnel, at the black tunnel. And then I was in this bright light.
Her migraine headache has triggered that area of the brain which allows us to have the near-death experience. And this is an area of the brain which is right here. It's on the right side of the brain, and it's slightly above our ear, and it's deep within our temporal lobe.
That part of the brain was discovered 50 years ago by neurosurgeon Wilder Penfield. When he stimulated his patient's temporal lobes, a very curious thing happened.
They describe virtually all of the elements of the near-death experience, except the light. That light cannot be explained by electrical activity within the temporal lobe.
Why is the light the only element of the near-death experience that cannot be recreated in the laboratory? It's a challenge to researchers who are now trying to understand the true nature of the near-death experience.
Coming up, Could this man be having a near-death experience in this specially designed environment?
It was enough for me to say, hey, it works. I know it works.
If you know, died, and having also given birth, I can assure you it was a lot easier to die.
If there is a hell, it's what we're living here on Earth because of the problems we have, because that isn't what it is on the other side.
There is a there. It's there for absolutely everybody. I was totally aware of that at the time, and I still am.
Comments like these from people who've had near-death experiences compel some researchers to seek scientific evidence that the near-death experience is proof of an afterlife. The movie Flatliners dramatizes the challenge by inducing cardiac arrest, a choice that raises profound moral questions. Yet other, safer means are being developed to recreate elements of the near-death experience.
Basically, our procedure is that we bring people to a very secluded rural location in a very scenic setting, a very peaceful place. The subject is put in a bed, which is equipped with various forms of speakers and electronic equipment that can facilitate a state of deep relaxation. The clients have often described going into the out-of-body state.
Feeling the effects of the music is research subject Skip Johnson.
You feel the music come up through your body and it just reach deep into your spine, and all of a sudden you're just so relaxed, you're feeling good, and you lose track of time. I went with the experience and I just found myself floating above my body. It was enough for me to say, hey, it works. I know it works.
These experiences, as impressive as they are, and amazing as they are, and dramatic as they are, don't constitute scientific evidence that we live after we die.
I don't think that near-death experience research could ever establish an afterlife on an empirical basis.
Science, as it's currently articulated, is not really capable of proving or of disproving that there's a life after death.
Neurologists will explain it in neurological terms, psychologists will explain it in psychological terms, and it goes on and on like that. And there's scores of such explanations, but they never really do justice to the total significance of the experience for people.
The meaning of the near-death experience to me as a doctor is that it puts a spotlight on our own spiritual impoverishment. And I've come to realize that we simply ignore death. We don't talk about death.
Coming up, the impact of near-death experiences on those who have had them.
The first month when I came back, all I wanted to do was die.
Research indicates that most people who've had a near-death experience believe it's proof of an afterlife, a world of light and beauty where all of life's great questions are answered. But ironically, the near-death experience does not create a longing for death. Rather, it intensifies a commitment to life.
I'm Jana Rhodes Godfrey. I had a near-death experience in April of 1990, out of body, everything.
A meeting of Seattle's chapter of the International Association for Near-Death Studies.
Bill Vandenbush, I had a near-death experience in 1969.
It's the oldest and largest group of its kind.
Paul Carr, I had a near-death experience in 1970.
Kimberly Clark Sharp is its leader.
The purpose of our group is to validate those experiences. Mainly, though, we just let people talk it out.
I felt... Do you ever tell your experience and get to this part and not feel the emotion? And excuse me, but when I feel this, when I can't tell this with the spirit and not relive the feeling of it.
This is a spiritual experience, and it brings about profound changes in these people.
As a result of that experience, my religious background, quote unquote, has changed quite a bit. My feelings of spirituality have deepened greatly.
The heavens just opened up, and anything I wanted to know was revealed.
Very often they tell us that this vision has inspired them to learn, that they want to go on and trying to understand the world that we're living in, and of course it absolutely eliminates their fear of death.
My attitude now, because of this, is like that Earth and living here is nothing more than a giant school, and we're all here to learn, and we're all here to grow. And I'll be glad the day I graduate.
It's an experience that has so obviously changed them dramatically that I think that that effect kind of is transmitted to people that they tell it to.
Now I understand that the process of dying is joyful, is intensely spiritual, and for someone like myself who's never had a spiritual experience in my life, I'm looking forward to that aspect of it.
He explained to me, in fact, his exact words to me were, this is not yet your time.
I came back appreciating life, whereas before I didn't. I changed in a blink. That experience changed me forever. But what I'm most grateful about is not being afraid of death.
It was one of the most magnificent things that has ever happened to me.
Everyone that I've ever talked to that's had the experience has some little special quality about them that makes them somehow different from those who have not. And yet, it's not a difference that they hold above anyone. It's a difference that they hold out for others to see and to touch and to feel, and to also to share with others.
This is not about death. It's called near death, but it's as close to death as anyone's ever come before. And therein lies the hope. And if talking about this experience gives someone who is suffering, either through grief or because of their own health problems or their own fear of their mortality, any kind of comfort, it's worth it.
The people you've met tonight have shared with us profound experiences that continue to touch their lives every day. If, as some say, near-death experiences are merely the result of physical trauma, religious influence, or wish fulfillment, what of the spiritual aspect of the experience? Could the near-death experience be a glimpse of what awaits us in a life beyond this one? Research continues, and so do the questions. For Sightings, I'm Tim White. Good night.
To communicate